Hi folks, Mike Lambo here, and today I'm looking at quests for the Brave. If you've played Beaches for the Brave, then this is similar and based on a similar system to that, but it is more developed and more varied. You get 12 quests in the book as you did in Beaches, but as I say, they're more varied, quite different in fact. So what I'm going to do today is play through 3 of those quite quickly. It's sort of an instructional playthrough, but I don't really need to explain it in detail because the rules are pretty simple for this one, and a quick read of the rules when you get them in the book and you'll be able to play this. You know, you'll be up and running within 15 minutes or so, I'd think. Okay. So this one is quest 8 out of the 12. It's called Goblins and Spiders and Treasure. And I'm just glancing over at the setup instructions, and they tell me that I need to mark the goblin, who's up here. I need to mark his life at 8. So I'm just going to put a little counter on there. Easy one to play with pen and paper if you prefer, of course. And then I'm going to place my heroes in accordance with the instructions at the bottom of each track. So I'm going to use these pink cubes for heroes. Not sure how clearly they show up on the camera, but hopefully they're reasonably clearly at the bottom there. And grab some dice. And for this one, you're going to need sort of at least 6 and preferably 8 dice to play this one. Okay, so I go first, and what I do on this particular quest is I roll one die, I should say, per hero that I have. I've got 6 of them, so I'm going to roll 6 dice. Okay, and then I'm going to consider what I've got here and have a look at the options that I have. So straight away I can see I've got a run of 3 there, which as with Beaches for the Brave allows me to re-roll those 3, but I must re-roll all of them if I want to. Apart from that, I'm not a lot to do at the moment. The thing to note is that I'm on danger spaces at the moment. These are these red tiles here, the red spaces. So they are spaces on which the goblin might attack me. So I've got to be a bit careful of those. So the aim is really at the beginning here to get my guys to safety. I don't want to land on a spider because that's instant elimination. The white tiles are safe. There are treasure tiles. We'll deal with those when we get there. There are green shrine tiles. Again, we'll deal with those when we get there. There are shooting arrows called arrow shot. So we're firing arrows effectively in this at the goblin. So they're good things to land on. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, so that could have a 6. He could do with a 4, gets him to an arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is pretty good for him. The 2's okay for him. The 1's okay for him, and the 1's not great for him. So this is not too bad. This would leave one of my guys on a red tile. So I could re-roll the 4, 5, and 6, but I'm not sure I'm going to get much better than that on this go. So for now, I'm going to stick with what I've got. So I've allocated 1 die per hero, all to movement, because I want to get them moving, but not too quickly, because unlike Beaches for the Brave, where the idea was to get to the top and throw some grenades at your target, and if you didn't succeed in that, if you went off the top of the track, you would come back to the beginning and you could start again on any trial. Here, if you reach the top, you get to these skull icons, you actually are eliminated. You're sort of gobbled up by the huge goblin there. So I don't really want to get to the top too quick. However, I do want to get off of these red tiles, these danger tiles. So let's just do that. So he's going to move up to that yellow treasure tile, which is pretty safe. He's going to move up to an arrow tile, which is good. For 5, he's going to move up to a treasure tile as well. He gets on a nice white tile, which is safe. Same with him, safe. And he's the only one there on track 1 who ends up on a red tile. So that's potentially dangerous. So that's my turn. Let's turn then to the enemy phase, in this case the goblin phase. And the instructions over there say roll 1 die per life remaining. And the goblin has, oops, try and stop banging this camera. The goblin has 8 lives remaining at the top here still. We haven't done any damage to that yet. So we're going to take 8 dice and roll those. And what happens is the goblin is basically, in this case, has an ability called Spear Chuck. So he will be throwing a spear at any track or any hero on a track whose number is rolled. But you can see there those 8 dice, fortunately for me, has not turned up a 1, and therefore my hero here who is vulnerable on this end track avoids having a spear thrown at him, which is good. So he survives. So back to me, and I take my 6 dice. So I've still got 6 heroes. Roll them again. Okay, so let's see what I've got this time. Okay, some interesting stuff coming up here. So first thing I can see here is I've got 3 5s. So that treble on the instructions that I'm looking at over there off camera say that that is a tree fall action. So any triple I can use to reduce the goblin's life by 1. And that says, luckily, a branch falls on its head, which is particularly useful, isn't it? So I could take those 3 5s there. Of course, I could use them individually for movement, but at the moment, most of my heroes are pretty safe. The double 6 is also good because that allows me to stun the goblin, and that means the goblin phase will be ignored this turn and won't be carried out this turn. So that's quite useful as well. So I'm actually going to take both of those things and do them both. The 3 then needs to be allocated to somebody because you have to use all the dice to do something. Unfortunately, this guy down here on track number 1, who's, remember, is in the open, who's in danger space, could use the 3, 1, 2, 3 to take him up to this white safety space. So he's going to move 3, 1, 2, 3, and the double 6 is going to stun this goblin up here. So I should put those up there to remind me. And the triple 5 is a tree fall, which takes away 1 of the goblin's lives, which is quite useful. Okay. At the end of my turn, the goblin doesn't go this turn because he's stunned. So back to me. Still have all 6 of my heroes, which is good. Which is not an easy quest, and so far it's worked out pretty well for me. Let's roll the 6 dice and see where we get. Okay, so again, I have double 6, which is really useful. And you can see how, because I'm rolling, remember, 1 die per hero, as my heroes are eliminated, the number of dice that I get to roll reduces accordingly. And that makes it more difficult to get things like the double 6 and the triple tree fall action. So those things are going to become more difficult the more heroes I lose. Fortunately, I've not lost any heroes yet. But I have got a double 6 there, so I could again stun the goblin. Now the outcome, or I should say the objective of this particular quest, is to get the goblin's life down to 0. And stunning him doesn't do that. It doesn't help. It doesn't reduce his life. I mean, it's useful because we skip the goblin phase, but it doesn't reduce his life. The other thing I can do with a 6 is I can do an arrow shot if I have a hero on an arrow space. I could use this 6 here, and that would reduce the goblin's life by 1. That's tempting. Let's see what else I can do with these things. I have no run of 3, no 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So I can't re-roll anything here. So I'm a bit stuck with what I've got. 1s tend not to be that useful because you don't often get 2 safe spaces next to each other. Or there's an example here where you do, an example here. So it does happen, there's one there, but generally, you don't get that. So the 1s are not overly helpful. So let's have a think. Do I stun to save everybody, or do I use this to reduce a life? For now, I'm thinking of reducing a life. Now, this guy on the treasure space, in fact, 2 guys on the treasure space is here, 2 heroes. He or she can use a dice for movement in the usual way. And if they do, what the treasure allows them to do is to reduce that number to 2 or increase it to 4. In other words, to adjust the dice allocated to them by 1. So that can be quite helpful. So here, for example, if I put a 3 on there, this hero here could change that to a 4 or a 2, both of which would be more useful. A 3 would take them to here, whereas a 2 would put them on the arrow shot, and a 4 would put them on a safe space. So those treasure spaces are quite useful. So let's see how things work out here. First of all, I want to try and use the 1s. Now I could put a 1 on this guy because he can then, or she can then increase that 1 to a 2 and move up to this arrow space. So I think I'll use a 1 there. The other one is more problematic. Oh, actually, I can put that on this hero here, who's also on a treasure space, so they can use it to move up to this arrow shot by increasing that to 2. Okay, so far so good. This hero can have a 3 because that takes him to a treasure space, and this hero can have a 4 because that takes her up to this safe space. So let's just hope this 6 works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It does. Takes that one to a safe space. So in fact, I'm not going to stun the goblin this time. I'm going to just use all the dice for movement, other than this one, which is being used for arrow shot, because they are on an arrow. So they fire an arrow, hit the goblin, and reduce the life to 6, which is good. This treasure space hero is going to increase their 1 to a 2, and therefore get on that arrow shot. The same for this hero, who increases their 1 to a 2. This hero moves the 3 that they've been allocated up to a treasure spot. This hero moves the 4 that they've been allocated, and this hero, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, moves the 6 that they've got. Okay. Remember, moving is not good, because when we go off the end of the track, that's the end of that hero. But you have to allocate all the dice. This time I did get an arrow shot. We reduced the life. That's good. Okay, but the goblin's not stunned, so the goblin would get a go normally now. But all my heroes are on safe spaces. None of them is on a red space, and therefore there's no real need to roll the goblin dice. One other thing to note about the goblin phase is that there's something called heal, and if they roll any 6s, they can re-roll those 6s, and if those dice results turn out to be higher than their life, they will heal and increase their life back up by 1 point. Clearly here, the goblin is already on life 6, and therefore they cannot roll more than that on a d6, and so that particular action is redundant. So I don't need to perform the goblin phase. You have to be a little bit careful, because when their life falls, you should perform their phase each time to see if they heal. If heal is an action for that particular quest, it won't always be, but it is here. So back to me. I've still got 6 heroes, so feeling good. I've reduced the goblin's life by 2 to 6 already. I'm going to take these 6 dice and roll them again. And this time, I've got quite a few low numbers here. So I've got a double 1, I've got a double 2, I've got a 3 and a 5. Again, I do have a run, don't I? I've got a 1, 2, 3, so I could re-roll those in the action called rethink. So this is where the heroes, just pause for a minute and have a rethink and think, oh, hang on, let's do things slightly differently. So I could re-roll those 3. Remember, I have to re-roll all 3 if I do that. I've no 6s here, and I do have 3 heroes on an arrow space, all waiting to perform the action of shooting an arrow at the goblin. So I think already I know I'm going to re-roll those because I really want a 6. So I'm going to re-roll those 3, see what we get. And oh wow, it's actually come up with a load of 2s, triple 2 there. So I've now got 4 2s. So I have a triple. So first thing I'm certainly going to do is allocate that triple to the tree fall action, which means another branch falls on the goblin's head, and that is going to reduce their life again by 1. That leaves me with a 1, 2, 5, which I need to allocate to my heroes for movement. So rather not move the guys who are on an arrow, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can put a 5 on this hero to take them to a treasure space. Other than that, I'm struggling just a little bit. I can put a 2 on this hero to get them on a safe space, but the 1 is, as it often is, not helpful. So I think what I'll do there, I can't put it on, well, I could put it on this hero, but it would move onto a spider space, and that results in instant elimination. So I think I'm going to put this on this hero here. I don't want to put it on that one because it would move them off a treasure space onto a dangerous. Might as well leave them on a treasure space because that can be useful. So let's do that. That one moves up to a red space, and he moves up to a treasure tile, or space I should say. Okay, so over to the goblin. Goblin has 5 lives left, so rolls 5 dice. And I do have somebody who's vulnerable here. This is track number 5. So if the goblin rolls a 5 on any of these dice, then this hero will be eliminated. And they haven't. They've rolled 3 6s, a 2 and a 4. Okay, so they missed this guy. No spear chuck going on. No, everyone else is safe. So they attack track number 6, but this hero is on a safe space. They attack track number 4, tracks number 4 and 2, but they also are on safe spaces. However, in terms of healing, they do have 3 6s, which is a bit of a nuisance. So they get to re-roll those. And remember here, to heal, they need to roll more than their current life. Their life is 5, so if they roll a 6, they can increase. In fact, for every 6 they roll, they will increase 1 life. Unfortunately for us, they didn't roll any. So there's no healing going on, so the goblin stays on 5. Back to us, and we've luckily still got 6 heroes, so we're doing particularly well here. So we roll them again, and we are going to take these dice out of here. That's 1, 2. We've got a 4, 5, 6, so we could have a bit of a rethink there, but we've also got 2 6s, which I think, well, we could stun the goblin, but I really want to reduce his life, so I'm tempted to put the 6 on this arrow shot here, this hero that's on the arrow space, so they could reduce the life by 1. Unfortunately, I had to move all my other heroes off the arrow spaces, but let's see if I can do something useful here. The 4 takes him to that arrow space, hopefully for next time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be useful for him, takes him to this green space, which is a shrine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, the 6 takes here this hero to a safe space, and this 2 will take this hero to a safe space. In fact, better still, let's put 1 there, which takes this hero to an arrow, and give the 2 to this hero, who will then avoid the spider. Unfortunately lands on a red space, but I think we just have to live with that for now. Okay, so 2 and 1 and 6, and the 6 for the arrow shot, remember, doesn't move him, instead reduces the goblin's life. That takes this guy to a safe space. Actually, it was the green space, I was only going to nudge that one. And 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 to an arrow shot. That's good. That's good. Good turn. The goblin then has 4 life, so the goblin gets 4 dice and rolls 2, 3, 4, 4. And we only had 1 hero, didn't we, on a red space, which is there, and they are safe because they didn't roll a 1. So we've been quite lucky, I have to say, we've been quite lucky. The moment you start losing heroes, it gets much tougher because you don't have the 6 dice to roll. So 4 dice have gone, and we've managed to succeed with those. There are no 6s, so there's no healing going on. It's back to us, and we roll 6 dice again. And again, we've got 2 6s. We really are having some fortune here. And plus, we've got chances to re-roll here with a 3, 4, 5 and a 4, 5, 6. So we could roll either of those triples, no, either of those runs, I should say. We've also got a 1 in there. So let's see what's happening. I think I'm going to use the 6s because I've got guys on arrows. So we could do that one and that one. That one would take this to a shrine. And that works to take him to an arrow. That 1 puts him on a safe space. What does this do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That as well puts him on a safe space. So lots of good rolls there, really helping out. I should just say the shrine here, what happens with that is you use a double there if you want to use the shrine action. So for example, we could put the 2 6s on this hero here. They wouldn't move, they would use the shrine action with any double, and what that allows you to do is place a new hero on the track that matches the number rolled. So here, in that case, you would put a new hero on track 6. However, you can only do that if the hero on track 6 has been eliminated. You're basically resurrecting them back to the beginning of their track. In this case, all our heroes are here, so we can't actually use any shrines, which is why I haven't done that. Also, I want to use the 6s for the arrow shots. So I've got 2 of those going on, 2 arrow shots. It's going to reduce the goblin's life right down to 2. Then we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to safe space. This guy moves 3 to a shrine, which is safe. This guy moves to a safe space, and this guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, moves up to an arrow, which is safe. So again, I have everybody safe. But we need to roll the goblin. We need to roll the goblin phase because he might heal. So he gets only 2 dice now. Doesn't roll a 6 and therefore cannot heal. Back to me, and I think this could be the first, I think, ever playthrough of any of the quests in this game when I've got all 6 heroes. They may all survive the quest, which would, trust me, would be a real record because these are not easy. Okay, brilliant. So what I've got here then is I've got another tree fall, and again it's because I've got all 6 heroes. The chances of rolling a triple is increased. Obviously, if I had 5 or 4 or 3, then the chances of rolling a triple become quickly reduced. So I'm definitely going to use that. So in fact, I'm going to put them aside straight away and just reduce the life by 1. And then I have a 1, 2, 2. So in terms of movement, I'm going to put a 1, 2, 2, simply because I can see that they will all get to safety by using those particular numbers. Okay, over to the goblin. He's just got 1 life left. He's struggling now. Just roll the dice. Oh, he's got a 6. So he's going to re-roll that. And if he gets more than 1, which he does, gets a 4, he will increase. He'll heal by 1. So his life goes back up to 2. Not a big issue, but it can be. If I was down to 2 heroes, that would be a much bigger issue than it is now. Back to me, I've got 6 dice, and yes, I've rolled 2 arrow shots, which I can put on these 2 arrow guys, and straight away I know that's going to reduce his life by 2, and I know therefore that I've won that particular quest. I don't need to worry about any of the other allocations. As I say, I think that might be the first time I've ever won a game of this, or Beaches for the Brave in fact, with all 6 heroes remaining. Okay, what I want to do now is just move on and show you how the quests are quite varied in this particular game. So this one is called Ice Chase. And in this, you can see here, there's only 1 track. So what we do here is we place our heroes again on the numbered spaces, which are all in the bottom corner here. And what I've got to do, the objective of this particular quest is to get 1 hero to this safe green space up here. So you can see the track goes all the way around like this. Okay, and these dotted arrows are just there to help with the orientation of that. So that we're going to go all the way along there to there. If we land on an ice space, we're dead. So we lose that hero. Heroes cannot pass each other. So I can move them in any order, but if one hero runs into the back of another, then the hero running into the back is lost. Okay. There is also an ice monster, which I'm going to use this blue cube for, which starts here. And that ice monster is chasing us. And if that catches any hero, the hero is eliminated. So what tends to happen on this is the heroes get eliminated from the back. Meanwhile, we're trying to get as far as we can. Okay, so again, we go first. We still have rethink, so we can still re-roll 3 on a continuous run. We can still move, and we still have arrow shot, but this time you can see they're hexagons, and the page I'm looking at over there, which is the page adjacent to this, would be there in front of you when you play, tells me that when I successfully use one of these, so with a 6 again, what that does is it knocks the ice monster back along the track. So we re-roll the dice used, and whatever we roll, it knocks the ice monster back. It's quite tricky, this one. There's a couple of these chase ones in the book. So let's see how we get on. We go first, and wow, we started pretty well. Okay, there's nothing I can do in this quest. A triple doesn't help. There's nothing I can do with a triple other than allocate it to movement. Now clearly on the first turn you have little choice. What you have to do is allocate the highest dice to the heroes at the front, otherwise they're going to start running into it. You can't move this guy 2 and then move the next guy 6, because he's going to run into the back of him and therefore get eliminated from the game. Okay, so really I'm just going to allocate them in that order to the 6 heroes. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, again 6, this time 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 and 2 at the back here. Okay, so that's that. Now what we do on the ice monster phase is that we roll every time. It says on the instructions to roll 4 dice. So we do that, and then we take the highest of those 4 dice, which in this case is the 5, and we move the ice monster 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it's off and running, and it's starting to catch us up already. And that is all we do on the ice monster's phase. It has no other actions it can do. It's just chasing us relentlessly. We can't destroy it, we can't eliminate it, we can push it back, and we can outrun it, but that's all. So then we go back to the hero's turn. So we've got 6 dice. Because there are 6 heroes. Wow. Okay, he was there. And my other guy who's fallen on the floor here was there. Okay, let's roll these 6 dice. Again, we've got a couple of 6s here, which can be useful. We have to start thinking about these back, because this guy, you know, the ice monster is already, quite often he will be moving 6. So we're already starting to catch us up. We've got to be a bit, can't just, well, it's a balancing act. You want your front guy to be running as fast as possible, because you only have to get 1 hero there to win. So this front guy is a kind of, you know, the precious guy. He's the guy you want to get moving as quick as possible. So let's try and give him a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can do that. We probably need to give the second guy a 6 as well, but after that we've got a bit more flexibility, have we? No, I think we have to give him a 5 as well. At the moment we just want to try and space them a little bit more so we can start being a bit more varied in what we do. But what we can do is give him a 2, and we can give these 2 heroes here a 3 each, so that they at least move, you know, some distance to try and keep them away from this ice monster as much as possible. So he's going to move up to there, he's going to move up to there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he gets to there. There's no stun in this quest either, by the way, so I couldn't use the 6s to stun. He moves up to there, then the 2 3s, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, ice monster, remember, 4 dice, nice and simple. And 6 is the highest dice this time, so the ice monster moves 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is going to happen quite often. It's going to happen quite often, isn't it? Quite often going to get sort of a 5 or 6 with 4 dice. So the ice monster will move fast. Okay, back to us. Now we have our front hero is on an arrow shot space. So if they got a 6, we could allocate a 6 to this hero. They would then re-roll the 6 and push the ice monster back by that many spaces. However, these heroes would then run into the back of that hero and fall off into the icy lake. So that's not a particularly good strategy to use at the moment. The best thing to do is to get your last hero, until they're sort of quite spaced out. At the moment, the good idea is to get your last hero onto the arrow shot, and have them do the arrow shot, because obviously nobody's going to run into them. So let's see how this works out. Okay, so we've got another 6. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's safe for him to use a 6. 1, 2, 3. But he can't use a 4. This hero here, 1, 2, 3, 4, is going to land on this ice space and fall into the lake. So that's no good. That's already going to cause us problems then. However, they could use a 3 rather. 1, 2, 3, yeah. And then this hero could have a 4. Just getting a bit worried about these heroes back here. That one, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they could have a 2, and they could have a 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, because they wouldn't catch them up. But they would have to have the 1, and unfortunately, they are looking like they're probably going to be in trouble. But there's not much we can do at this stage. So let's move this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Okay, now let's see what this ice monster does. I suspect we're going to lose our first hero here. They get a 5 is the highest they've rolled. Okay, 5 is the highest they've rolled. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They land on this hero, and this hero is removed. Now, the ice monster landed directly on this hero. Had the ice monster moved, if the ice monster was due to move past the hero, they would stop at the hero space, eliminate them, and then not move any further. So there's a tactic involved here. If you know a hero is going to get caught, it's best to sort of leave them as far back as possible, because the ice monster will stop when they catch them. So that's one thing to think about. So we've lost a hero. which means we now only roll 5 dice because we are rolling 1 dice per hero. So our options become a little bit more limited. We're still rolling a 6, which is good, but obviously the fewer dice you have, the less likely you are to roll those higher numbers. So let's see what he 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, let's keep him. I'd like to keep him running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's difficult because he's going to land on an ice space with that, and we've got another guy right behind him. That's problematic, actually. Okay, so what we need to do there is give him a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he could have a 6, and then he's okay with a 5. That leaves these two in trouble. That one has to have the 2 to avoid the ice, but also to avoid the other guy running into the back of her. So this final hero gets the 1. So let's play that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, and 1. Okay, back to the ice monster. And they have, oh, they've rolled a 6, look. So they're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and stop there and take out my second hero, unfortunately. All right, back to me, and I've only got 4 now, so I'm also rolling 4 dice, just like the monster. Okay, I need to keep this front guy running. Got to keep this front guy running because the ice monster will catch up very quickly, and there's a long way to go in this quest. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's got to have the 4. What else can we do? Oh, that's no. Okay, already slight problems here. I think. Okay, we're just lucky that this is very difficult here with these dice, but actually I can give this hero the 1, this hero the 3, and this hero the 4. Any other arrangement of those, then someone's going to land on an ice space, or somebody's going to run into somebody else, and this guy would have to have the 3. So what we see happens here is I can move this one first, because I can move them in any order, remember. This hero then goes 1, 2, 3, and goes tucks in behind them, and this hero gets 1, 2, 3, 4, tucks in behind them, and is on an arrow space. That might be useful, actually. This hero 1, 2, 3, and stops there. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's no. I mean, on another turn, I might have given them the 1 because they're likely to be caught anyway, and that would have slowed the monster down. But I gave the 1 to this guy at the front. I couldn't have given them a 3 because that would have taken them onto this ice space. So, you know, it's just a case of puzzling it out and working out what the best move is. Okay, so the ice monster now, 1, 2, 3. If they get a 5 or more, we've lost another hero. They've got a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they land on this hero and they've gone. So we've now just got the 3 dice, and to be honest, we're not far enough. We should be down here really by now. Hopefully we get a 6. Oh, we didn't. One thing I've not really been thinking about are re-rolls. I've not really been thinking about, you know, the rethink action, and maybe I should have done that. I guess, you know, being on camera, you never quite think these things through as much as you could, but we're now in a bit of trouble. Actually, it might not be too bad. So we give them the 5, 2, 2. That's all we can do, really. Otherwise, we're going to start running into each other. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 luckily lands on a arrow shot space. And these two can safely move 2. Let's see what the ice monster does. Okay, it's a 5 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the highest they've rolled, so they move 5. Back to us. Then we've got 3 dice. It'd be nice to get a 6 and a couple of low numbers. We haven't got that. We've got 4, 5, 5. So it doesn't give us a great deal of choice. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we could get to another arrow shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. I think they're going to be okay there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I've got a couple on arrow shots. It'd be nice if we could have 2 6s, wouldn't it? The ice monster then runs. Okay, a pretty good roll this time. Just the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they run along there. And the ice monster is unaffected by ice spaces. Probably should have said that before. So they can land on ice spaces perfectly healthily and safely. Back to us, and we need 6s. Come on. Still not getting any. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're in trouble here because of this roll. It's not a great roll for us. Because they're so, you know, there's such a big gap between the 5 and the 1s that we're going to have people running into each other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He cannot use the 5, else he's gone. So he has to use a 1, which means one of these is going to... someone's going to run into somebody here. So I think what we need to do is give him the 1. It's going to have to be like that. So 1, 1, and then 1, 2. And because he's caught that hero up, they fall into the ice below. And this is not looking good. Back to the ice monster. They get a 6. Dear oh dear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as I say, they're perfectly safe on an ice space. Unlike us. We've just got 2 now, so you can see our options are very limited. It's unlikely we're going to get any much further with this now. 3 and a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Okay, so we can do that. So let's do it like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Ice monster. Oh, gets a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right on our tails here. Back to us. We need big as we can. Brilliant. Oh dear. Okay, so he gets on an arrow shot, which could be useful, and that guy at least avoids the ice. But will no doubt, yes, 1, 2, 3, 4 will succumb to the ice monster who rolled a 6 as their highest dice. Okay, back to me, and I've only got 1 now, and this is looking bad. A 6 would be quite nice. We got a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that lands me on an ice space, and I fall through the ice into the lake and meet an icy death. So the ice monster wins, and we lose that particular quest. Okay, so I just want to show you one more here, I think. Again, just to show a bit of variety. So this one is quest 10. This is desert rats and scorpions. So you can see this is set in the desert. There are scorpions all over the place. If you land on a scorpion, then you're eliminated. So again, we start with the 6 heroes. I don't think I'll play this one through. I just explain what's going on. So we have a king rat up here that has 5 lives. So again, we put a 5 life marker on there. But also what happens here is that there are 6 rats that start on the top of each track, and obviously our heroes start at the bottom here. Okay, now there's a bunch of similar actions that they can do. So again, they can rethink if they roll a run of 3, they can move, they can shoot. If they land on an arrow here, if they roll a 6 when they're on an arrow, then they can do an arrow shot. What happens when they do an arrow shot here is they will firstly defeat the rat that's on their track. And only if the rat is gone will they then start to defeat the king rat and reduce the king rat's life. So the king rat is protected to some degree by these rats. In the rat phase, what happens is these rats move down their tracks, okay, like this. And there's a mechanism to do that, and they move down the tracks. Okay, and obviously we're moving up the tracks as we go, and we're trying to eliminate them if we can. So the crucial bit here is to get onto an arrow as quick as possible, and if you get an arrow shot, if you roll a 6, you must defeat this rat first before you can attack the king. So, but you want to defeat this rat, because if the rats reach you, if they come down and get onto your space, then they will eliminate that hero. Okay, how do you eliminate the rats? So you eliminate the rats by landing on them exactly. So for example, if this hero here was allocated a 4, they would go 1, 2, 3, 4. They would land on this rat, and the rat would be eliminated, but not the hero. If I had no choice, say this hero was here, and I had no choice, or I felt the best thing to do was to allocate a 3 to this hero, then 1, 2, 3, they would move past the rat, which would eliminate both the hero and the rat. Okay, so these rats are a nuisance, and you have to kind of time things as you're moving up and they're moving down. You've got to keep your eye on what's happening and so on. Now, in the rat phase, when you're doing the rat phase, you roll a die for each running rat, for each of these rats here, rather than a die for each life. So there's also a question of whether you should be defeating some of these rats earlier. Sometimes it's, it may be that you want to actually give up a hero by moving past them, because although you lose a hero, you also make it so that the rat phase will roll 1 less die. And the rats move down in accordance with the highest amount rolled on their turn. So the fewer dice they roll, the slower they will move. So there are things to think about with that one. You can stun the rat, which means the rats won't move. So you can, with the double 6, you can stun, which means there is no rat phase and the rats won't move down. So, there are things to think about in that particular quest. But, I wanted to show you that one just to show that it's different. There's there's a couple more quests where things move down at you as well. And there are other varieties as well. There are quests where there is no enemy here. It's just a quest full of traps and various other things going off to hinder your progress. And again, the idea is to get one hero to the end of the track, faced with all the traps and other things that are challenging you to do that. Okay, guys, it should say the colour printing here is probably less vivid than it is in the book. So in the book, you should find the colours a bit more vibrant. And that is Quests for the Brave, and should be on Amazon any day now at the time of making this video. Thanks very much.